Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Keys to AWS Optimization. I have lovely Savannah and Alex with me to talk all about the announcements from reInvent 2024, specifically focusing on the CFM launches. Savannah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We had such an exciting reInvent in terms of CFM launches, so I'm a little stressed by the length of this list and not sure how we're going to cover it all so quickly, but I think we can do it.
Yeah, I have faith. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing good. I agree. There were so many big launches. I'm so proud of that team, and it's been really cool to see what some of our customer work has influenced that. I know we'll get into it, but I think it's just digesting everything. I've been learning and rewatching things all week and using handy dandy Claude to give me some summaries, which is very helpful. But yeah, a lot happened.
Yeah, very, very busy. We had a couple of talks. We did a talk each, which was exciting. And mine has got a recorded episode on this channel. Alex's, I'll make sure, is in the show notes. And Savannah, we're going to record hers in a bit. And then we'll make sure this is up on the channel. But as you may be able to tell if you're watching this on YouTube, this is not a live episode. So because of some changes, we're going to be having a sabbatical over the holidays until early next year in terms of live Twitch episodes for this channel. So make sure you stay subscribed to this channel because we will be releasing some YouTube videos focused on reInvent announcements that we've already recorded through the kind of winter. But for now, twitch.tv/AWS will be a pause on streaming. But we still wanted to come and share our reInvent announcements. So let's get into it. So welcome everyone to the Keys to AWS Optimization, the show where we share stories, concepts, and solutions to help unlock your spend at AWS. My name is Steph Gooch. I'm a senior optimization architect advocate at AWS. And I've got some amazing swag. I just want to show off my funky t-shirt and my very warm jacket. These were very cool. If you've got one of these at reInvent, I'm going to take this off in a minute because I can get too warm. But I've got a very good swag game. But Savannah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Savannah Jensen. I am a senior FinOps success manager here at AWS on the optics team. And I have my optics hoodie on today, but also have really long hair. So you can never tell. It just looks like a green hoodie when I'm on camera.
It's one of my favorites. It's definitely one of my favorites.
Very cool. Yeah. Alex, you want to
go? My name is Alex Head. I my role has changed. This is not my farewell episode. I'm going to bug Savannah and Steph to come back as much as possible. But and I could get into it later on in the show, but I have taken a new exciting role at AWS and will still be in the mix. So my new title is Senior Manager of Tech Innovation. And I used to, as of like 4 days ago, run the optics team. So now they don't even have to be nice to me anymore. And I'm wearing my AWS pullover that I got in the swag shop. I bought this one, but it was so worth it because there's no pink AWS stuff. I was like, I'm in. But it isn't a hoodie, and you know how I feel about hoodies. What was your favorite? Wait, did you mix into the show? We have to do our favorite swag that we got at reInvent.
Oh, I've got mine next to me. I was like prepared, but I know Savannah doesn't get swag, so it was like, but I can do more.
We two pieces of swag this year. I got two.
Oh, do you want to get it?
Go get it because it's out there.
No, go get it, and we'll be right back. Okay. All right, Savannah, do you want to go first with the swag?
Yes, I've fetched my swag. I got 3 pieces of swag this year, and I'm really excited about them. I got a pair of AWS mittens.
What's so cute?
Bizarre.
And you know what? That is fitting. Like if there's anyone who's going to wear AWS mittens, it's going to be Savannah.
Perfect.
Leave out.
Flawless. I got this little like belt bag situation. Looks like my little Lulu one, but it's AWS branded. So I'm really excited about that as well. I use these all the time. And then the big one is Alex very kindly made all of us optics jeans sweatshirts. Sorry, I'm not holding this up very well, but we've got optics and then we've got Sev. Oh no, Sev on the pocket. And I'm really excited about it. Also, I'm realizing that all of these are reversed and backwards right now. Whoops.
Oh yeah. I'm mid-sewing finishing Rosa's. Rosa's, yours is incoming. Promise. If you're watching.
Excellent. Alex, what was your best bit? Or is it your pullover that you bought?
I think my pullover, I really didn't do much swag this year. But with some of the swag that was handed out, we inspired, and so I think that was like has to be my favorite. So I do these kits for that anyone on optics that comes to reinvent has a speaking spot that are kind of optimizing your reinvent experience, and it has everything from like lotion, chapstick, Tylenol, like
The
all
eye
that fun
masks.
stuff. Oh yeah, the eye
Nice.
masks in it. And then this year I did like these little briefcases, but our strategic accounts team did them for customers this year. And I was just like so honored that it had grown that much that has to be my favorite swag
Yeah.
for sure.
Those hydration packs, lifesaver.
Mhm.
And I'm going to go with my one, which is a auto face tracking phone holder camera, which I was going to buy and then saw it at a store and I was like, I need this. So props to those guys for giving out a nice piece of swag. There was one that was like a little, how would you call it? Like, you know, when you have a train and it shows you where the station is, like the thing that kind of ticks across. They had one of those like mini ones that you put on your ladder. I bought one online, so I'll get it for another episode and I'll show you.
Confused and American over here.
Like,
Savannah and I did have a very good idea. So any like partners or people who have booths at the reInvent, listen up. So you know how if you've been to reInvent, they have security dogs. I think they're technically like bomb dogs, but at the entrances. But you're not allowed to touch them. Which honestly, I think you put 60,000 tech people in one area and you're not allowed to touch a dog could be torture, and is. And I think Savannah got in trouble for petting it. But I think that someone should do a booth that's like adoptable puppies. So it's like a fundraiser and you can just go sit on a beanbag and hold a puppy for a minute and hear their pitch, right? So you get to learn more about a partner, but you just get to hold a puppy. I think it'd be really good for people at reInvent. Very soothing.
Absolutely. I remember in college, we used to have like, they called it pause for finals, where they would just bring in therapy dogs during finals and let us just chill with them for a little bit if we needed stress relief. And I need that at reInvent. It takes it out of you. 4 days in Vegas does things to an introvert's body. Man,
that would be the busiest booth for sure if they did that.
There'd be a line. I would wait in it. So,
yeah. Let alone getting cups or engraved bottles. We're all about some puppy time. Okay, with that, let's get into some of the announcements. So we have 9 announcements to get through in today's session. There'll be a couple of demos in there and we'll be mixing it up. But let's kick off with Savannah. Why don't you do one to start us off?
Yeah, I will kick us off with the new announcement for split cost allocation, or SCAD. If you're unfamiliar, it is essentially the CUR++ for certain services. So split cost allocation will give you more granular data in your cost and usage report for ECS, batch, and EKS. So we're looking at some of kind of those EKS specific costs a little bit more tightly tied to utilization. The CloudWatch integration that we launched this reInvent is super exciting because it gets down even more granular for these EKS costs. You can get pod level costs, which of course is what everybody is always asking for. That CloudWatch data is going to kind of feed into our system and give that granularity at kind of a level that our billing system usually wouldn't be able to get to in the cost and usage report, which gets you a lot closer to essentially understanding exactly who is using what within an EKS cluster and being able to bill out kind of super tightly based on consumption. It's been really exciting to see the service grow. I remember before we launched it, this was one of the top asks for all my customers that were using these kind of EKS, ECS container services. And now it just seems like we are constantly iterating to make this kind of closer to that ideal state and more granular every time. So super exciting one. I have not played with this one myself yet, but I'm excited to. I know we do have some kind of out of the box dashboarding for it. So super excited to spin that up in my internal account and poke around probably next week, hopefully when it gets a little quieter with all the emails.
Knock on
Christmas
wood.
Street, please.
Knock on wood.
Let's see if it gets quieter. Doubt it.
And if anybody doesn't know about SCAD, then we did an episode a couple of weeks ago, so you can check that out. I'll make sure to link it below. But yeah, exciting all these things.
Just call it SCAD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that.
SCAD.
SCAD.
I feel like all of the tools have initialisms or acronyms quite a lot now. I've just like, I wrote them all in a list the other day and I was like, I'm not writing anything out. I'm just writing letters.
It's just letters.
Yeah.
We use so many acronyms.
Yeah, it's
You can't do it.
Any other follow-up questions? I think Savannah, that's a kind of nice overview. Alex, any follow-up questions?
I have follow-up questions, but I know that we're all super new to it, so I don't want. So this doesn't have to go to Savannah. But I'm guessing. I mean, obviously, you have to opt into it, and is the cost going to be associated with like what you're doing in CloudWatch, or is there a separate cost?
So there's no separate cost for the SCAD service itself.
Okay.
Obviously, CloudWatch you do have to
Gathering
opt into,
metrics, yeah.
and you'll get the metric cost from that, which hopefully should be fairly light. Technically, it makes your CUR bigger. So if you're really concerned about those like 2 extra pennies in S3 every month, then give us a call. We'll try to figure out how we can maybe life cycle some of your old CURs into a deeper storage tier or something to alleviate that 2 to 3 cents. But yeah, no cost for the service itself.
Here's a good reminder too, guys. If you are collecting CloudWatch metrics, see what your retention on them is, because that can sneak up on you. There's an episode on that. We'll include it in the show notes.
Yeah. These show notes are going to be packed with links, and I apologize in advance, but I'll make sure to split them behind some reasonable things.
I went through,
Okay.
I was, weird segue, but I was rewatching the keynote yesterday, and those notes on the YouTube, oh my gosh, it's like 4 pages.
They like essays?
Yeah.
Great, something to browse through over the Christmas holidays.
Some library.
All right, let's move on to the next one, and I'll go next. So AWS Compute Optimizer now supports idle recommendations. So similar to what was in Trusted Advisor in terms of idle recommendations, but it's now in the Compute Optimizer home. This gives a bunch of different recommendations, and it will give you the information of why it's called idle in the console. So EC2, auto scaling, EBS, ECS, and RDS. It will show you what is considered idle, how much of it you are kind of wasting on this, and then tell you the definition of what it calls to idle. So it gives you all the information behind it. Then you guys can go and hopefully delete these things if you do not need them, or investigate them, or even see if there's a technical problem. A lot with some of these products, people think their things are connected up and they're utilizing them, but they're not using them at all. So this can maybe highlight an error as well as a saving. But this is quite a nice integration. Our team worked heavily on providing recommendations and providing customer support into getting this one made. So very proud of this one that's got into the console, and shout out to Rick's team, always looking at finding ways to help you guys get rid of those wasted resources you don't need.
Yeah. The other one that I do want to quickly note on this too is it includes ASGs, so auto scaling groups, which I think is really big, because prior to kind of this tooling, these have been pretty laborsome to find, and required a lot of kind of digging through, and folks are a little bit nervous to turn off an ASG before really understanding what it's feeding. But hopefully with this, now that it is easy to surface, that's something that this new release can really unlock for customers.
Definitely.
So are you still going to be able to see the Trusted Advisor one? Is this 2 separate things?
At the moment, they're 2 separate things. If anyone has any feedback about the fact that there are 2 separate things, you know where you can email, guys. But send that over to us. But yeah, at the moment, they're 2 different things. They have different sets of requirements and also different scope of what they're looking at.
Have you messed around with it?
Yeah, I went in the other day, found some other resources that I expected because they're with my bad account, but looking to always add more as well. So also if anybody has any suggestions for what they'd like to see as idle in there, that's also what we're on. Any suggestions really in terms of products, send them our way.
I mean, a lot of this stuff we truly got to see from customer suggestions to it being made. And I know that if you're watching this, you've probably seen some of our shows with the product teams, and we talk openly about that and how we partner with them. This is it in real life. And there's some announcements that I did that we're saving for last that we got really hands-on with. And it's just a really cool thing to see something live like that.
Yeah. To segue from spending money you don't want to spend, Savannah, do you want to showcase the new invoicing that we have?
Yes. So this one is really exciting. This was, I think, one of the last ones to launch in the week. So I think we were all like really stoked about everything else. But I went back and reread this and like my jaw dropped. So we've launched custom invoice configuration, which essentially is a way to split your invoices or generate more than one invoice per billing family. Customers have been asking for this, no lie, since I started here in 2018. This has been a question that I've got consistently, probably every month. So to see it launch and to see this be something that like A, was so thoughtfully designed, and B, is so easy to set up on console is amazing. If you're a customer that has multiple business units under the same payer account, and you have kind of two different POs or two different kind of groups who really want that degree of separation or want a specific invoice that only represents their usage, previously, you've only had kind of the ability to do that through chargebacks, whether through cost categories or if you've got an Excel spreadsheet set up or whatnot. It's been laborsome, but now with this launch, we can generate two different invoices based on a configuration that you specify, which you can then pass down to those billing groups essentially, which is amazing. So powerful, so much like administrative ease, and really something that customers have been asking for a long time. So really excited about this one. I know I'm probably a little bit more passionate about like the invoicing experience than most people, but like I really cannot overemphasize how great this is.
I mean, this was my first job that touched AWS was at the Weather Channel splitting invoices. I mean, so I mean, that was 2015, 2014. So wow.
Alex, I think I said 20 years ago, and I was like, I don't think that's right.
Wow.
So
Yeah, when I was
very confused.
actually, I don't even know how old I am. When I was
Don't think about it too hard. Yeah, exactly. Savannah, one thing to clarify: when you say billing groups, billing families, which one did you say?
I said billing groups.
Billing
I think
groups.
the technical term within this launch is business entity, but it's very similar to basically a billing conductor billing group. So those are like very entrenched in my mind. Similar concept. You essentially like define the boundaries of who gets what invoice and how you want to divvy that up. And then bing, bang, boom, end of the month. Got as many invoices as you need.
Perfect. Okay. Any other questions about that, Alex?
So Catherine was calling me. Catherine, you're interrupting our stream here. Catherine's on our team. No, because I was so amped up about this. I did probably more research on that. And in fact, like behind the scenes or BTS moment, we fought over who was going to to talk about it on the show today. So no, because I'm too excited about it. But again, as the other ones go, give us your feedback, right? These are, now that this can happen, like we can get more granular with it and see what other levels we could do here.
So as we keep going, I just want to say as well, don't forget, if you want us to do a deep dive on any of these specific announcements, drop it in the comments below and let us know what one you want us to deep dive into. Talking about, I'm trying to segue, talking about deep diving, Alex, do you want to take us through some anomaly detection deep dives, some new announcements with that?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this too, because I think you guys have heard me refer to it as like my data rabbit hole. Like if I find something odd in data or something that I want to dig further into, I mean, I could spend hours looking at it. And I'm going to be talking about, what's the exact name of it? Multi-root cause. I was going to say it wrong. Multi-root cause insights for cost anomaly detection, which is kind of exactly that. So if you've ever had to track down like why your bill had a spike or what this service was doing it, this is for you and for all of us data nerds. So they'll have up to 10 root causes for any anomaly above $1. So you'll get to see like why that is happening, and maybe some of those causes make sense, right? But maybe some of them don't, and it helps you dig in further. I think that the cool part is how many different aspects it connects in. So you have service, account, region, usage type to pinpoint exactly what is driving that cost up. I think this is a chunk of all of our jobs if you're in FinOps. And so this just gives you more information and kind of a bigger picture. I know on the team, like Steph and I could look at the same anomaly and probably come up with different reasons. And so this kind of helps you bring that conversation together. So an example, you have a $5,000 spike in CloudWatch. Instead of just seeing the biggest contributor, you now will get a detailed breakdown showing the root causes. So maybe it's log processing increase in one account. Maybe it's a new requirement in another account. Maybe it's a third-party service usage in a different region. So it will give you all of those different viewpoints. And it also will show you that like maybe there's multiple things causing it. So that if you just go fix one thing that and then it still happens, you're like, oh, you were wrong, right? So going through all of that in detail. What questions y'all have?
I would say question, the one thing that is, I think CloudWatch is a perfect example, Alex, where people are like, what the question is was like, what happened to my spend? And then this will allow you to kind of figure that out. And sometimes it could be one thing that went off massively, or someone did something wrong on something, or it could be that there was demand on loads, like you said, loads of different accounts, and it was all the same thing. So you can also see maybe if those accounts are the same application, but like dev test prods, maybe someone released something into those like infrastructure as code and set it out through all three, and they didn't realize the impact of the spend. So in terms of kind of finance practitioners or people that are keeping track of their spend, this should increase reduce the time it takes you to figure out what happened, so that you can kind of analyze those problems. But yeah, it seems pretty cool. Question: do you have to enable anything else, or is it just natively in there?
No, good question. That was my I realized I skipped over that bit. But so if you have cost anomaly, this is just like kind of an added feature onto it, and then it's no extra cost. So it's automatically enabled for all cost anomaly detection users. So but you have to be using cost anomaly, obviously, because it's not going to tell you have an anomaly if you're not using it. And it can be accessed programmatically. You don't have to go straight to the console.
Oh, awesome. So that means that we can pass it into probably all the Slack bots that people are using. Cool. That's powerful.
I think it's going to be really cool. And I do want to emphasize too, because I know sometimes feedback that we get is, even though we all might really, really like data, that, are we adding more and more data, right? Are we making it more complex? But it's not, this release really is not about more data. It's about giving you something that's actionable, right? So making that data more actionable. So don't hear this and be like, oh, look, 10 more line items. It's about making that line item actionable and what you can do to change.
And now you don't have to find those 10 line items. I think that's the big one. It like really cuts out that middle step of investigation and minimizes it a lot. So it'll
probably enrage you for a second because you're like, I didn't think of that. And then that's how I felt when I was experimenting with it. I was like, dang it, I wouldn't have gone to that. The third party piece is what which is a lot harder for if we're looking through data to find out. And so that was a piece that for me was really streamlined. Like I wouldn't have normally been able to find that.
Yeah. And like you said, it could be something that is normal. It was expected. I did deploy a bunch of EC2s in my account. Okay, that's like a normal spend. But the services that are the outliers that have anomalies are really important. I think we did an episode, either I've done it recently or I did just a session with the PM. I've done too many episodes to remember. But one thing we learned, which is Alex saying they could by default applies to any cost anomaly. I always used to think, and I did episode on this, or I did it on the free tier series it was that I just assumed that anomaly was just there. You didn't have to do anything to get it, but you have to enable Cost Explorer to get anomaly. So it's like I just used to think it was just like turn on, but it is that little thing because it reads from Cost Explorer. So make sure when you get any new kind of a setup, if you are kind of new to AWS and you're developing, then make sure you do enable that Cost Explorer just so you can get the privilege. Because any new accounts will have custom protection enabled, but they do need that Cost Explorer enabled too.
Rewind for a second. Steph just said the word. She's done too many episodes to remember.
Yeah, we did. It's like 100 and something, and I was like, because I also did a bunch of private like sessions with demos with the PMs to learn about stuff for the free tier series I did, and now I just can't remember if I did it live or not.
So I also one thing that I met with a customer at reInvent that was talking about how they handle anomalies and stuff. And they have the different business units. If the anomaly makes sense, they have to tag it, and it has like whatever that reason is, and then you reassess later. They were like, this for us is making it so that they have to rule out the up to 10 things of why it's happening before they tag it. which was helpful in that sense because it like obviously saved them hours and hours of work.
Amazing. Let us know in the comments how many hours of work did Okay, let's continue on our list. And I will be moving on. Oh, I've lost my place. Into a very quick one, which is Aurora right-sizing recommendations. So our lovely Commute Optimizer, another one for that one, provides recommendations for Amazon Aurora database instances. So the same as you normally ones, looking for idle or ones that could be optimized in size of the classes, so you can reduce those unused capacity while keeping your performance good. CloudWatch metrics such as CPU utilization, network throughput, connections are pulling in this information to provide you with those recommendations. Similar with EC2 instances, if you enable your RDS performance insights to your databases, the metrics that it will give you in terms of the recommendations will be far greater in savings, because we need to see that extra information so that we can give you a better recommendation so we don't lose any kind of performance. Compute Optimizer will always err on the side of caution when it comes to recommendations. We do not want to affect any of the performance of your applications. So adding in that extra layer of detail can make sure your recommendations are accurate. And that's like a nice quick one. Shout out to the Compute Optimizer team again. Anything on that one you guys want to check?
I think that makes sense.
Oh,
Just
that's
a huge shout out to Rick's team, because like every time I look, we have another launch, and that's awesome. Like the fact that Compute Optimizer has such a large service slate of everything that it's monitoring all in one spot, all in a very customer friendly way. And the fact that we're still iterating and still basically like developing things that solve customer problems constantly. And if they ask for another service, they get another service, it seems, is awesome. So thank you.
Exactly. And we're going to be doing some demoing of some tools that are in Rick's team at the end, so I was going to take some of those. So don't worry, we will have some demo element of this episode. But Alex, who did a session at reInvent about Gen AI, pause for a moment to just be like, wow, because it would terrify me to have to talk about Gen AI on a stage.
It was terrifying.
No,
I mean, one of the most terrifying pieces of it is there were so many AI announcements that it was really hard to keep up with that, because our talk was on Wednesday. It was hard to keep up with that with our presentation, because you know, secrets behind the AWS scenes, but you're not allowed to change your presentation. I mean, what, up to a month before?
Yeah, the slide decks are usually locked in like late
obviously,
October.
Yeah, what you're saying out loud. And I mean, they really keep this stuff locked down. Like even the stuff that we were really close to on the optics team, we didn't know what was for sure going out. And so you have to be like, have all ears open for what could influence your presentation, because people are going to ask. So this one did. So this is the Amazon Q now provides natural language cost analysis. And on this one, I will admit, I had to dig, I mean, like I did for my presentation, I had to dig pretty deep to fully grasp exactly what this meant. AI is not first language for me, no pun intended. But basically it means that, let me get my key points up so I don't mess this up. And P.S., if you're watching my video, which we'll talk about our sessions at the end, my speaker notes were cut off. So now I'm like extra focused on making sure I've got all my notes in front of me. All right. So Q lets you ask questions about your costs in plain language. So no more clicking through multiple console pages or remembering a specific parameter name that you need. So for example, say you're meeting with someone and they ask why their costs increased for the month. Instead of diving into Cost Explorer and building out a custom report, showing them what that means or what you think, you can ask Q which region had the largest cost increase last month, or simple language questions like that. In English, it is just English right now, I believe. I tried to find the answer to that. So it also shows you what parameters you need to go look at, or what you could go look at. Similar to what I was saying above with like cost anomaly, right? It kind of helps you take that next step if that didn't answer it fully, or if you're just a data nerd like we are. it's pulling directly from your Cost Explorer data, so it shouldn't be anything different, right? It's just a simplified, like streamlined way to ask. And you will need access to Cost Explorer though to use this. Like you couldn't just log onto the console and type in a question and it access Cost Explorer. So you have to have that permission. And you can like relay it back to the report. So like you can help it use the questions to lead you back to like what Cost Explorer reports you're going to go look at. What questions? Did I miss any big things?
No, I think the simplicity of being like a buffer between maybe somebody who has an account and someone in FinOps, rather than going to them and being like, why did my cost increase? You can be like, Q, why did my cost increase last month? And hopefully that will be something that I encourage FinOps practitioners to highlight to people so that they don't have to deal with the small questions anymore. That's probably going to be a good use case. But Sana, what you gonna say?
FinOps teams, I suggest, and not in a jerk way, but use to answer people's questions, use this. And so then you can validate and make, like trust even more that this is what, how you would answer it or something like that. But say, you don't have to be like, well, let me Google that for you. But you could just say, well, let's see, if I'm interpreting this the right way, and type it in and see the answer and show them that this is accessible. I mean, people who don't eat, sleep, breathe cost data probably wouldn't know to go look for this. So FinOps world out there, use it. And when you're demoing or when you're showing people or when you're explaining costs to them so that they know that they can go to it.
I really do appreciate like the teaching element of this as well, how it spits out the filters that you would need to find this information in Cost Explorer, because again, like it's second nature for us. Like we know which fields all of this stuff lives in. Like I can tell you when I would use usage type group and when I would like use billing entity. But if you're a little bit obfuscated from that, that's not necessarily like top of mind. So this can be kind of that half step to let you get more familiar with how to pull this stuff up in Cost Explorer and then hopefully not have to ask next time.
Yes.
So
and I mean, should I, well, I'll wait to go into my presentation because it doesn't fully tie in, but yeah.
Okay, we'll go into it, yeah. Okay, on to my last one before we hand over to Savannah to do some demos, which is data exports now has Focus 1.0 in general availability. Previously, it was in preview, and now it is available to all. So if you are a multi-cloud person, this is the data set you're going to want to check out. It is the open source specification from the FinOps Foundation and normalizes the data so you can look across your cloud providers and grab that all together. So it's interesting, especially if you have to do things like chargeback and you have applications or projects that span multiple cloud providers. This is something that we had when I was a customer. And so having this all together, it is a very different data set. So you do have to spend a bit of time getting to know the columns and not exactly the same, but the documentation that we'll share below does kind of showcase all the different elements that you need to worry about. The big changes were just about some of the columns that we need to make sure are going to be kind of standardized across the board now. So there were some changes that came out in the newer version, but it is a very interesting data set to dive into, especially when you're kind of adding up the different, it takes away the having to think about what is it in GCP and what is it in Azure and what is it in AWS, which I think especially people who are non-technical maybe and have to do those things like chargeback reporting or, oh, my doorbell. Oh, it's fine. Things that it's fine. Things that are coming across in terms of like chargeback reporting don't have to worry about adding all those numbers together. But yeah, any questions?
I would say this is obviously really an exciting launch that we've been awaiting, and it's been in preview for a bit. But this is one of the ones where I would really encourage people to give feedback about it, because we are trying to make sure that we get this right. And because inherently, like with the focus framework, we're integrating or like slightly integrating our billing data with the other cloud providers. We don't always have the easiest like purview into that. You do as a consumer. So if there's anything that kind of pops up that's a little bit unintuitive as you're playing around with this and trying to kind of merge everything together, please let us know, because that's something that we can absolutely advocate for that I couldn't myself go test and figure out.
Yeah. And we're also adding more queries to the Curl query library in this format. So if there's any, or if you want to, I think there's an external way to open source kind of suggest queries. But if there are any you want kind of help with understanding what's going on and help making those queries ones that we should prioritize, everybody by now should know the email of cost optimization at amazon.com, especially Alex and Savannah who forget.
Will I live that down? Probably not.
Never. Okay. All right. Awareness of time. Should we move on to Savannah's demos?
Yeah.
I'm excited.
I'm stoked. Okay. Let me pull it up. Can you pop my screen up for me, Steph?
I'll edit this out so it's changing. Yeah. Okay. Go. Yeah.
Amazing. So I'm going to do 2 super quick kind of like lightning demos of 2 of the new launches. I know we are going to have a little bit more in-depth session with the PMs for each of these services coming up in the new year. So if you like what you see, please stay tuned. But I wanted to at least talk through them a little bit, show y'all where they live, and show what's new and what's exciting. So the first one is going to be Savings Plans Purchase Analyzer. So it lives in the Savings Plans section of Cost Management Console. We can pop in here right now. This is something that customers have been asking for since Savings Plans launched, probably since about 5 minutes after Savings Plans launched.
Wait, how old's Warren, Alex? That's how many years it is.
Yeah.
5.
5. Great.
Oh, true. Because it literally launched as I was going on maternity leave.
Yeah.
That's always how I remember it. I'm like, how old is Warren? That's how old savings plans are. But this tool allows you to essentially customize the recommendation that you get for a savings plan that you're thinking about purchasing. So previously, all of our Rex tools were focused on essentially that sweet spot of saving you the most money possible. But a question that we got constantly, and that internally at AWS, we had built some tooling to kind of help answer a little bit more rigorously is, okay, great, this is my recommendation, but what if I only want to buy $10 of that or $2 of that? What does that look like for my cost? And that is exactly what Savings Plan Purchase Analyzer allows you to do. So as you can see here, we've got kind of all of the knobs and dials that we're familiar with in terms of savings plan configuration. We've got our look back period, 1 year all upfront. I'm going to leave it on these guys. You can exclude expiring savings plans. I don't have any in this account. Naughty. But this hourly commitment amount allows you to toggle between recommended, so that kind of default, how much can I save maximally, and custom, which is where kind of the new shiny piece comes in. So let's say that I'm not 100% sure what my footprint is going to look like after I do a good amount of right sizing. So I don't necessarily want to buy to cover everything that's running right now, because I know that once I do that cleanup, my footprint's going to go down a little bit. But I am comfortable with buying, I don't know, between like $2 and $10 an hour based on what's running. I'm pretty confident that that's going to at least be my baseline. But I want to see what that looks like in practice and kind of all of the saving stats that would be associated with that. SPA allows you to come in here and say, okay, I just want to do $2 and then run an analysis on that. We can see essentially how long it's going to take the system to think. And when we come back, it will have all of those statistics that you kind of know and love to help you understand what that savings plan purchase is actually going to do to your costs. While we let SPA think, I do want to pop into the other really exciting new launch within kind of our billing cost management suite. So we can kind of take a peek at that while we wait. And that is the pricing calculator preview. So I'll pop this open in a new tab for us so we can come back and check it on our.
Before you even go into it, the fact that it's in the console now, just love.
Amazing. So good. Really important. It's also an authenticated experience now. So it's centrally all there. The big punchline with this one specifically is because it is native in console and an authenticated experience, it is going to include discounts and it is aware of what is going on in your accounts already. So
I just, in my head, when you said the like authenticated thing, I was like, You know, the like TikTok, like very demure, very mindful. That was the first thing that came into my
Very
head.
demure, very mindful, very authenticated.
Yeah.
The new pricing calculator.
They should use that as a slogan, I think.
Oh gosh. All right. So we'll come down here a little bit. You'll notice it's a lot more kind of customizable and intuitive than the old pricing calculator, the public pricing calculator page. So I'll go
Mhm.
ahead and create a workload estimate, and we'll just call it test. And I only have the 4 discounts in this account, but you do have essentially the option to select either before or after discount in any of these estimates, which is super exciting. If you've got kind of a lot in play in your account, that's a little bit more customized. So let's go ahead and submit that. As soon as I create that estimate, I now have the ability to add different usage types. What's I think most powerful here is as soon as I click add, we've got the ability to do new services. So this is kind of configure it just like you usually would in our old public pricing calculator. We also have the ability to import a previously saved estimate. So anything that you have generated in that kind of public pricing calculator webpage that we've all been using for years, you can drop that URL in here. It'll automatically just pull everything in out of the box. Or you can use historical usage from your accounts as your starting point. So this is really exciting if you are kind of migrating another tranche of a workload onto AWS. If you've already kind of done tranche 1 and you want to use that as a starting point for estimating what tranche 2 is going to look like, you can pull everything in there and then kind of tweak the knobs and dials once you have kind of that default. The other thing that I've seen customers really excited about with this one is if you want to model how something is going to grow, you don't have to build what's there from the ground up. You can pull in what's going on with kind of that workload or that account now. And then if you think that you're going to add on another 100 like EC2 instances or another chunk of data into S3, within pricing calculator, you can just go in there once you've imported that and then twist the dials, up the numbers, see those calculations happen in real time. So it's a lot more intuitive when it comes to what if analysis, and it's a lot more powerful because it is aware of everything that's already going on within your AWS account. So really cool. And let me pop into the new services just for a second here. I will pick an account. I'm going to pick my region. We'll go all the way down to good old IAD here. And then I'm going to use S3 as my option. We do expose pricing code and product name. If you guys are deep in the Kerr pipe like we are, this is exciting as well because we've got kind of that configuration to find exactly what you're looking for no matter what you search. So I'll pop in S3 and create my new usage group. We'll click next here. We do have the ability to have templates, which I think is pretty cool for all of the services that we have as well. So right away in kind of the S3 piece, I can think about, okay, what am I doing with S3? I'll leave it at standard for now. And as soon as I pull in that template for S3 standard storage, it spawns kind of all of the things that I need to fill in. So this is where I'm going to kind of toss in all my numbers and kind of you can pop down to show calculation as well. It will pull in all of the usage that is kind of associated or all the ancillary usage that will come with anything that you've selected here. So it helps you understand kind of what's going on in these services end to end when you use them, and also do some of that estimation. We do essentially have the ability to check or uncheck this include usage calculation box. So if you go through this list and you're like, okay, I kind of have an idea of what my puts and lists are going to be, I'm not going to include that. You can just uncheck that and then it'll compile for you. But a lot of granularity, a lot of power in terms of when it comes to looking at kind of what's already going on in your ecosystem, and just a lot of new stuff to play with in the console. So really exciting. What questions do you guys have about this?
Would you want to show us the end of SBA and then we'll do questions?
I'll pop back. Dun, da, da, da. Wow. Okay. So now I have my SP analysis graph, right? got my current savings plans in the green. If you've used kind of the more details page on savings plans recommendations, this should look pretty familiar to you. This blue kind of layer here in my little layer cake shows exactly what I've inputted in terms of my commit. And then we see that estimated OD cost. So I can go in and run this multiple times for kind of multiple different thresholds. If I scroll down here, I'll get all of those stats that I kind of know and love. You can kind of aggregate this data, do a lot of kind of what if comparisons. And if this is kind of something that you've used in your decision-making process, you have a lot more data richness. If there is perhaps an approval process that you have to go through to buy a savings plan, or if you have multiple groups who are kind of weighing and measuring how much you're supposed to get and what's going to make the most sense, this is a really powerful way to be able to generate those figures right out of console and kind of come back to them as well. So super exciting.
This is, I mean, I love this. And the optics team has been doing like custom analysis similar to this for years now. And the product team really listened. So, and really partnered with us on it and wanted to hear what, you know, customers had to say. And it's just really cool to see. I'm so excited.
Huge shout out to Mary. She has been amazing getting this over the line. So.
It even got a great Corey Quinn tweet. Did you see that?
Yes, I did.
Said he had no complaints after asking multiple, I think I had it, well, we don't have time, but it was like after doing all the research, I still can't find something to complain about.
Incredible.
And shout out, Corey was in a session with Bowen and Matt, so I can't wait to dive into that one on YouTube. He apparently didn't say anything too crazy, so he's allowed to post it. Okay, anything else before we close up? Alex, you want to say anything on?
Yeah, I'll wrap up real quick. So our sessions, as Steph said, are going to be, we'll make sure that you have links to them. I did a lot of research, me and my speaking partners, Adam and Brent, for my AI cost control one. And there really wasn't much out there in forms of content to help me learn and stuff like that. And so we dug really deep on this. I, of course, don't like watching myself speak. It's weird, but the presentation will also come out. And I strongly recommend taking a look at that. I think that it tells the journey of how to look at the different trade-offs really well. So take a look for that. And then lastly, I'll wrap with my 1 minute. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, I did take a new role. I can't believe I'm leaving optics. It feels crazy. I've been in the same role for 7 years, and I started optics 5 years ago, almost exactly. And this was my 7th reinvent, 6th as an AWS employee, and watching how much optics impact was at reinvent. We had 10 people there, 10 people on optics. We had 7 speaking sessions, or 6 or 7 speaking sessions, because some of us were doubled up. I mean, it's insane to think that, you know, when we first started going, no one even knew what optics was, and now we're allowed to put it on slides, and we, you know, see sessions like on the cloud intelligence dashboard, or we see this release with SP Analyzer that we had a hand in, and it's just so cool. And I am, as I said, I'm not going far. I'm still at AWS. I have a little bit bigger of a purview when it comes to all tech instead of like specifically FinOps, but FinOps is such a huge part of that. So FinOps world, you are not getting rid of me. You're just getting removed from my title a little bit. And I'm excited to see what it could bring. And thank you everyone all 2,000 plus subscribers who have watched us on this journey and continue with us. And thank you guys for being like the ultimate co-host. And you know what? I'm not going to remove myself from the sticker. I've decided. So you're stuck with me.
Excellent.
Lives on in perpetuity on the merch.
My audio just turned off. Let's just do this. Hopefully I can hear you guys. Can still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so thank you so much, guys, for a lovely summary episode. Like we said, we'll be doing some more deep dives into this as we move forward. But from Savannah, Alex, and I, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe, and we'll see you again soon. Bye.